saying that, but it's just that
and it's not in the contemporaries in
you can get
Rivers State.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us at the Pundits. Today being 26th of July 2021. In looking at some of the headlines that have characterized the political landscape in the last couple of days, we'll be starting with the statement credited to the palace of the Olubadan, which says Olubadan sends monitoring team to Cotonou. Away from that, we're looking at 28 freed kidnapper pupils reunite with parents. Also, we'll be looking at the resumed Kanu's trial raises anxiety in Abuja. Away from that, we're looking at federal government demands nothing short of Igboho'S extradition. Banditry in Northwest Consuelo, Nigeria. That statement is credited to Governor Matawali of Zamfara State. Away from that, we're looking at PDP Governors Forum to meet over State of the Nation, other issues. Away from that, we'll be looking at cleric blame decadence on unholy alliance by clergymen, politicians. Also, we'll be looking at zoning of political position fundamental for Nigerians. That statement is credited to Senator Gobi. Then we'll also be looking at Nigerian laws allow restricted terrorism trial for Nnamdi Kanu. Also, we'll be looking at democracy is not just a game of number. So I wouldn't know what democracy really means. Away from that, we're looking at Sunday Igboho rights President Muhammadu Buhari. Also, we'll be looking at DSS bars punch orders as Kanu trial begins. Davido becomes the first African artist to eat Atlanta Golden Spike. And last but not the least, which is part of the breaking news, we also had that Omoyole Sowore has been arrested, although news also have it that he has been released. Lastly, we'll also be deliberating on the supposed travel of the President Muhammadu Buhari to London as a result of health and education tourism. With me in the studio is Mr. Oloku Bienuse Matthew, looking at some of these topical issues. Mr. Matthew, welcome. Thank you for joining us at the Pundits.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Yes, looking at the headlines today, majorly, while we have Sunday Igboho being arraigned in court in Benin Republic, we also have a coincidental supposed arraignment of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, but from the report, the DSS said as a result of logistics, and he was not present in court. While we're still looking at that, we'll also be looking at the attitude of the security operatives. At the point the news came out from virtually most media houses, they were not allowed to go into court. Security operatives supposed to be stopped in the court of law. It's just like telling a student of his school not to go into a lecture room when your lecturer is there. The judge is supposed to be in court. Then the students are told not to go into court. So in looking at this, how do we conceptualize where we're moving forward as a people?
You see, for me, I think it takes a warped mind to derail from cause of justice, to jettison rule of law. Because by our standard, looking at the issue that has to do with the trial of Nnamdi Kanu and the statement credited to Nigerian DSS, barring Punch and some other media organizations from covering the proceeding, I think it has laid credence to people who believe that this government do not have respect for due process and rule of law. Because by our standard, media organizations covering a court proceeding is part of their mandate constitutionally. So by the time you start choosing and picking which media organization should cover a proceeding, it now casts doubts on the sincerity of the government to have a genuine and unbiased prosecution of Nnamdi Kanu. Don't forget that there's a report that though he have been released, Sowore and some other persons who went to the court premises were arrested by the police. To tell you that the police may not have any genuine reason of arresting them, we are hearing that they have been released. So for me, I think what the government should do is to present their case in courts and allow the independence of the judiciary, who will interpret the law and deliver judgment. Because the way the government is carrying on the issue, it will make people feel that the government want to influence the outcome of the judgment. Because we have seen a situation where DSS cited logistics as a reason of not producing the accused in court.
That now brings to the question: what was the plan of the DSS? Having known that the DSS have a lawyer, the federal government have a lawyer. So, what were they thinking, knowing fully well that there will be a court proceeding today?
I think it's a deliberate attempt to frustrate the proceeding. Don't forget that the judiciary will be going on annual vacation, and for the court to sit during the vacation, you need a fiat issued by the chief judge of, I think, High Court or so in Abuja. So outside that, the court proceeding cannot commence. You need prosecuting counsel to request for fiat. So a situation where federal government is not willing to commence prosecution. So how do we now expect the prosecuting legal team to demand for fiat from the judiciary to enable the court sit during the vacation? Don't forget that even DSS recently blocked Nnamdi from signing 2 forms. One from the British High Commission in Nigeria here, seeking his consent for consular assistance, and the second one from a British law firm seeking to give him diplomatic assistance. So if you look at, if you juxtapose all these scenarios, it gives you the impression that we perceive a government that is not ready to be fair with the accused. And if you use it to look at Sunday Igboho'S issue, you will see that Sunday Igboho will be justified to argue that his extradition to Nigeria will not give him justice. If somebody who is already accused, who is already in custody in a similar scenario, is not likely going to get justice going by the antecedents of the government. So a Sunday Igboho will now feel that if eventually he is extradited to Nigeria, the same fate that is befalling Nnamdi is the same fate that is waiting for him. On that ground, I think Sunday will be justified to present the case, judging by what is happening in the case of Nnamdi, that coming to Nigeria is not likely going to get justice.
Okay, for viewers at home who also want your comment to be heard, we're sorry we'll have to work on the telephone lines as it stands now, so we might not be able to take your calls for now, but you can send in your comment through the live chat comment pages and also your opinion on the subject matter. Away from that, Mr. Matthew, Olubadan sends monitoring teams to Benin Republic, and there was also a report that the Oni of Ife also sent a committee to represent the Yoruba Traditional Council in the Benin Republic. Is it that the elites from the Yoruba nation, or maybe the Southwest ordinarily, directly or indirectly, maybe not the political elite in that sense, but maybe the traditional institution and some other elite seems to be falling in line with the school of thought of some of these agitators? Because even in the court sitting today, we saw the former governor, I think his name is Chukwu Ezeife or so, was there. He was representing the Ohanes Indigo, and I also read from one of the media station that the Obi of Onitsha also sent delegation in that regards. I don't know how true, but now looking at the personalities who are sending people to attend some of this court sitting, what do we make of it? Is it that some people already have their notion carved out? Maybe not the political elite, but somebody like Yinaya Abaribe has openly declared his stand on this issue, while Wole Soyinka has also said have a position. So you see that there's a division from the political elite, while we are having a news block of different elite trying to align with these secessionist agitators or maybe non-state actors in respect to how the government have been handling the cases that involve these people.
Okay. For me, I think the reason you are seeing the elites, especially the traditional rulers, don't forget that by our standard, the traditional rulers are supposed to have moral authority over the people. Now, the reason you are seeing the traditional rulers coming up with committees, delegation to represent a particular group of people, an ethnic group in the courts, in the case of Nnamdi, and sending delegation to Benin Republic, is as a result of kneeling from the people. Because if you look at the spontaneous reaction and protest that greet the arrest of Sunday Igboho, even in Benin Republic, there was protest. In Ibadan, there was protest. In London, there was protest. And the reason the protest is not even as much as one expected is because federal government dispersed people who were protesting in Ibadan at the first instance. So I think the traditional rulers want to be in the good book of their subjects. That best explains the reason. But it's a good omen anyway, because it is a message to the world that the way the Nigerian government is handling Sunday Igboho, for instance, that Sunday Igboho is not a criminal. Because if you are saying somebody is a criminal, and you see the society, you see traditional rulers rallying support,
academic rulers,
the academia,
yes,
and technocrats rallying support to see how they stop his extradition to Nigeria. It tells you that he is not a criminal. It tells you that he is in good relationship with the people in the jurisdiction where he stayed before the federal government forced him out of the country. Now, if you look at Nnamdi scenario, you see that if not for the threat of DSS and the body language of the government, they would have shut down Abuja any day there is proceeding of his case. What does that tell you? It tells you that this man you are calling a terrorist is that it's just a question of trying to give a dog bad name in order to hang it. Because I don't believe that if a Shekau were to be alive, he is arrested, taken to court, that on court day people will come out to show support for him. I don't think so. So hence you are seeing people coming out openly to support somebody who is accused of being a terrorist. It tells you that there's something fundamentally wrong with the approach of Nigerian government. Don't forget that as at the time federal government designated and prescribed IPOB, the best of the nation like Britain, United States of America, and some best organizations globally like UN, European Union, they were not on the same page with Nigerian government.
So meaning the government has always been on a different page.
Exactly. And even recently, British government admitted and said that they are willing and ready to grant asylum to IPOB members who perhaps have been persecuted in Nigeria.
It's true.
So on that basis, it clearly tells you that Nigerian government is not on the same page with the best of nations of this world. And again, I see the frustration of federal government under Yar'Adua when they try without success to tag Niger Delta militants as terrorist group.
Yes, the international community.
The same dilemma I see federal government currently not being able to convince the world that IPOB is a terrorist organization, and secondly that Yoruba agitators that they are terrorists or whatever name they decide to give them, because I know they are quick at designing name
for some set of.
And again, if you look at what is happening in the north, what they even call bandits, Sheikh Gumi have made us to know that these are Fulani herdsmen.
Yes, it's true.
So I don't know where federal government stand. I think the federal government should come, because they say he that come to equity must come with clean hand. Federal government should come out openly and allow the process of the prosecution to follow due process without circumventing any rule. If you do that, nobody will talk about that the government is violating any law. Especially where all your body language is showing that you are not ready to give justice a chance. By our standard, the two forms that DSS stopped Nnamdi Kanu from signing, if I begin to ask, what negative effect will it have on Nigerian government? Could it be that the British High Commission in Nigeria do not know the right thing to do to ascend that form? And I see a diplomatic row in waiting between Nigerian government and
some other countries of the
and
world.
even United States of UK.
UK, even Germany, if possible.
Because look at the issue of the wife to Sunday Igboho. The reason the court quickly released that is that German government intervened.
Yes.
This is our citizen, and she has not been accused of any crime, and the court saw reason and allowed her to go. So especially where I'm talking of Britain this time around, your citizen traveled from your country
To Kenya.
legally to Kenya
With a British passport.
with a British passport. He was alleged to have been arrested in Kenya. The circumstances of his transfer from Kenya to Nigeria have not been clear. Some are saying it's an extraordinary rendition. And you as a country, I think it's an affront to the sovereignty of Britain. Because even Britain on their own have asked federal government to explain the circumstances surrounding bringing Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya to Nigeria, which they are not forthcoming in doing. I think that will explain the reason federal government is handling everything in secrecy. I think it's even perhaps part of the reason they don't want to bring Nnamdi Kanu to court, because Nnamdi Kanu may use the opportunity to tell the world what transpired.
Okay. For viewers at home who also want your comment or opinion to be known, you can please send in your comment through the live chat comment page, and we're going to read your comment out and also hear your opinion. For some of the questions you probably might be able to answer, we'll definitely give answers to that, and that's why we're here in the studio. Mr. Matthew, let's move over to Northwest. It's been a den of uncommon kidnapping series. Recently, 28 freed Kaduna pupils reunite with parents. Now, the church and the organization, the members of the church, decided not to disclose to the public if a ransom was paid from what the news was able to gather. But at the same time, they were not. The statement that came out said that they wouldn't know what individuals, the parents, and the mode of engagement they would have used in making sure that some of those pupils are being released. So, but a close informant said about 100 million naira ransom was paid. So, in as much as we've not heard anything from the intelligence of the DSS, that is very, the DSS on sometimes will be so good in having intelligence on some issues
And so quick to address
the press on some issues, maybe relating to some certain set of people, or probably some part of the country. It is a pity, but we've been expecting the same DSS to
rush to the press
and give us
and perhaps and to grab
headlines and tell us that, oh, we've gathered intelligence as usual. And in comparison of some of the issues that the DSS have been so fast to bring intelligence on, and the life of these young ones, I think the life of these young ones in the kidnapping is even more paramount, more demanding, considering their age to school, their innocence, and comparison to where their intelligence fly the media space for unnecessary media trial. So in looking at this, where are we heading to? Insecurity in Northwest, and the government is not speaking in a language the so-called bandits understand. So where do we move from here?
As unfortunate as it is to pay ransom, I believe ransom was paid.
As unfortunate
as it is to pay ransom,
okay,
I believe ransom was paid. Because if you look at what Kaduna State Governor said one time, that the bandits have lost right to life, that they need to wipe them out. Now, the life of those children is important, because these are innocent students who the only crime they commit is being Nigerians. So for me, it is not out of place to pay ransom and get them out of captivity. Because I have a situation where the people who held them captive have no value for human life. They can kill at the slightest provocation. Even without provocation, they kill.
It's true.
So on that basis, you have the life of promising young Nigerians who have the prospect of even growing and becoming the president of this country. So you cannot just allow them to die on the altar of we don't want to pay ransom. Paying ransom will encourage kidnapping. If you look at it logically, it's correct. Because by the time you pay ransom, you are lubricating the activity of the bandits, of the kidnappers. Because it's like you are giving them energy, energizing them. But as unfortunate as it is, you don't decide that you allow the innocent students to die. You sacrifice them first. Having paid ransom and getting the innocent students out of captivity, you can go about your kinetic approach. I'm not saying kinetic approach should not be used. I'm not saying the government should be pampering bandits. But I'm against sacrificing the innocent students just because the government is not ready to pay ransom. Because in the first place, it is the negligence and the dereliction of duty of the government that made the students vulnerable to be kidnapped.
Now, okay, let's move away from that headlines, and I really wish the security in the northeast can really improve, because it is worrisome when the region that have issues with uneducated or the literacy level, if not the highest. I think the northeast is the highest, then after the northeast is the northwest. Still, the threat to the schooling system or the educational system, almost all the schools in that part of the world now is almost shut down. So it is worrisome that we might be living with neighbors whose level of intelligence is really questionable, because if you're not going to school, what behoves or what probably will now be the future of such children in comparison with some other part of the country whose there are deliberate efforts to send their own kids to school. And we can't take it away from the former emir of Kanu that said that the north will be destroying itself because other part of the country are sending their children to school, and at a point you now say some other persons should gain job on the basis of quota system. I'm quoting Sanusi Lami.
I understand.
Sanusi. So in looking at the next headline here, okay, we've somehow deliberated, and it talks about resume Kanu trial raises anxiety in Abuja. So is Kanu that influential to raise anxiety in Abuja to start?
You see, it doesn't matter. You are even talking of Abuja. It's already a global issue. Because
but some people think maybe it's overhyped. I mean,
no, I don't think so.
Okay.
Because even the Solicitor General of Canada spoke to this issue.
Madu.
Yes.
Madu, yes.
And we have a situation where we have even seen before now how Nnamdi paid a lobbying firm, a renowned lobbying firm in America, to advance the cause of Biafra. So it's already at the global scene. Don't forget that this UNPO, unrepresented nations and people organization, which is an affiliate of UN,
yes,
already recognized Biafra.
I think Odua Nation as well.
Yes. And the reason Odua said they registered is because they said they don't want a situation where, from experience, they don't want a situation where the agitators will be arrested and tried for crimes they never committed.
It's true.
Backup to.
I think that statement was from Professor
Akindele. Yes. So the way it stands now, the Kanu's case is already a global issue. You cannot, because almost every part of the world you have Biafrans. So by our standard, if there is a protest, you see it registered in almost every part of the world.
Yes,
so to that extent, saying that there is anxiety in Abuja because of the arrest of Nnamdi is even an understatement. Because if not for the body language of DSS and the government, and you allow people to come out freely to show solidarity,
the court would have been jam-packed.
Abuja will be shut down. Not because people want to go there to break law and order, but because whether you like it or not, as Nigerians, everybody have right of freedom of movement. So I can decide to go to court to witness the proceeding. I can decide to be seated in the courtroom, fold my hands, watch the proceeding, at the end of the day, go home. I don't think I've violated any crime by doing that. Just like Shiwere and some other people were at the same court premises. Though they were arrested, we learned they have been released.
The news had it that they have been released. Okay, moving away from that, FG demands nothing short of Igboho'S extradition. When I read this headline, it was looking very worrisome. Now, the point is, when the government says they have evidence to challenge it in court, why not wait till there's a presentation of such in court? But the federal government rather went on to justify, they were the judge in the case, that Igboho has caused the death of so many people. He has constituted a militia group. He has so the government became a judge. The government, even in that write-up, went on to say, if Benin Republic don't release Igboho, they will go with economic sanctions. Is that a threat, or it's a principle of hypocrisy, or they're trying to bully down Benin Republic? What is the meaning of, or what does it portray for Nigeria? Looking at the global structure, what we as a country, what we've done as a people, have we really
for me, I think Nigerian government is trying to exhibit that same impunity. Why did I say so?
Impunity in international.
Yes. They want to intimidate Benin Republic. Because if you go through that statement, you see that the body language of that write-up is already telling you that if you do not comply with our request, we are ready to fight you economically. They even cited instance of how under Obasanjo regime, under Obasanjo administration, how he shut the border between Nigeria and Benin Republic when Benin Republic was not ready to accede to his request. So it is already a threat. And you know, Benin Republic economy largely depend on Nigerian economy for survival. So they want to use to put undue pressure on Benin Republic. So they are leaving the issue. They are not ready to argue based on issue. Because what is expected of Nigerian government is to come to court and ventilate your opinion. You have accused this man of gun running. You already accused him of turning himself into security agency, yes, law enforcement agency. So I think the onus lie on federal government to go to court to argue it, rather than resorting to self-help and intimidation, blackmail, and trying to and twist.
Is it new that the Nigerian government, those are the characteristics of the typical Nigerian government before now?
What I'm trying to say is they should be responsible enough.
You really think so?
That's why I'm saying it. To go to court and present their case why they feel this man should be extradited. The way it stands, the whole world is watching. So if they have good case,
are you sure they have a good case?
I'm not in a position, I'm not an arbiter in this circumstance. Okay. But I can understand what.
Maybe it's because they don't have good case. They are already looking for option B.
That's what I'm looking at, because ordinarily, since you claim to have genuine reason to extradite him
back to the country,
so why writing later that look as if you are threatening another sovereign state? Okay. Knowing fully well that Nigeria is a stronger nation to Benin Republic, knowing that Benin Republic economy largely depends on Nigerian economy for survival. So they are already telling them that if you don't accede to our request, your economy will suffer. So it's like an undue pressure. They already reminded them that the multinational joint task force,
Yeah.
which even the Republic
Is
is part of, that this man is a threat to it. So I think all this is, they needed to argue it in court, not necessarily writing that letter of threat.
On the pages of
For me, it's a letter of threat.
Okay, moving away from that, banditry in Northwest can swallow Nigeria. Matawali made this statement in during a presentation somewhere. I think it was in a university. He said that the other region, also a part of the country, were trying to score political point with the insecurity. Is it being truthful by saying that? Well, because from my perspective, in the true sense, it's even the political elites from the Northwest and the North generally that have always been scoring political point with the level of insecurity right from 2014. So when the sitting president wanted to fight the insecurity, they openly and wholeheartedly made sure that the sitting president cannot wholeheartedly fight the insecurity. So is he being truthful by saying the statement that banditry in Northwest can swallow Nigeria? So maybe what he should have said is swallow the North, then probably Nigeria. Because insecurity in other parts of the country, like the Nigerian Delta military, did not swallow the whole country. It disturbed more of the people in that
I think if you look at the statement, that statement accredited to the Zamfara state governor, I think there's somebody who knows better about the level of insecurity in those states, and it's somebody who knows better about the level of how prepared the bandits are. Don't forget that somebody was quoted to have said, I think it's a traditional ruler in that environment, to have said that the number of bandits outnumber the number of military personnel posted to counter them. So on that basis, I think he may be speaking as a result of the strength.
No, but yes.
But if you look at it from another angle,
okay,
he made mention of political class in the north,
which is inclusive.
Exactly. Not interested in the well-being of the masses, rather they're only there because of their pecuniary interests.
Like him.
He's inclusive. Now, if you look at the level of poverty in the north, look at the level of education in the north, you see that it is thriving. There is a situation where if you look at the number of repented Boko Haram at a point, we had a situation where about 600 persons repented were reintegrated into the society. You discovered about 600 of them were from either Borno, Yobe, or those surrounding states. What does it tell you? It tells you that these are Nigerians who are vulnerable to these criminals, these insurgents, to be recruited into
Any of those.
this crime and criminality. And if they were to be educated to the level where they can differentiate between right and wrong, most of them will not fall prey of the recruitment of Boko Haram. The same thing is applicable to what you see in Zamfara, Kaduna, Katsina, Niger, and some other states around those areas. So I think the governor himself is indicting himself. It's self-indictment. Because one, he's among the political class. So if the political class have not been able to use their position to create and advance the good environment that will bring about good dividends of democracy to the people, that will elevate them from poverty to the level where they will not become vulnerable to these bandits, then it should have been a good thing. Then again, if you look at another thing he said, that contrary to popular view, that the mining activity is one fueling banditry. That is not true. I think that's where I'm going. I think the man have more explanation to give Nigerians
in terms of that.
Yes, because people have, even traditional rulers
have accepted
that even some aircraft come to drop one or two whether weapon or what will I call it, in that environment. So I think if you look at the time the government declared Zamfara no-fly zone, it was not without reason. They would have had the intelligence.
The mining.
Yes, it's associated with the mining. So I think the governor have more to tell Nigerians.
Maybe it's clever.
Don't forget that the governor was quoted at the time to have said that, though he have denied it anyway, that the gold in Zamfara belongs to Zamfara. I'm not saying I'm not affirming that that's what he said. I say he was alleged to have said it, though he have denied it.
Okay.
So I'm saying that he have more explanation to give Nigerians.
Looking at that statement and looking at how resources from other regions have always been allocated and appropriated to the federal government and the control of resources, has there been any thing in relation to that concerning the gold in Zamfara? To be quite honest with you, I do not know the modus operandi through which federal government is earning from gold. Though some proponents or some persons have come out to claim that federal government is the one that gives license to these miners. But I can understand as at the time the current governor of Ekiti State was the Minister of Solid Mineral. Yes, the president
yes, when he came on board, he acknowledged that there were some illegal miners. So I think they created a platform where those illegal miners could come on board to be licensed instead of throwing them out of business. But be that is me, I don't know how the full details about how federal government is earning from the mining of gold, just as we understand the process through which federal government earn from oil. Because by our standard, federal government collects 60% across board from all the oil companies. Before you start talking about 13% derivative, before you start talking about sharing through local government and population. So I do not have the details about how federal government earn from solid mineral, especially gold mining in Zamfara State.
Okay. Now let's move over to another headline. PDP Governors Forum to meet over state of Nigeria. And the statement is credited to the DG. Now, PDP, are they really opposition, or what are they doing? Because to me, I don't think they've given the APC a good run for their money, just like how the APC did robust opposition in 2013, 2014, just before the general election. Are they really serious, or they are waiting for the masses to do the opposition? Because I spoke with one or two, will I say, party chieftain in one of the parties. He's a youth leader anyway in PDP, and he said PDP decided to directly and indirectly keep quiet for the people to enjoy the change and do the opposition themselves. That when it's time that the PDP will come on board. What do you make of this? Looking at their governors forum coming to meet over the state of the nation and national issues.
I think there's little or nothing the PDP can do at this time.
Okay, why? Why can't they do anything? I didn't know.
Because we have a government that is not ready to listen.
So was it that
and
the
again,
Jonathan government was a little bit lenient and he was listening? And
Jonathan was more of a Democrat than Buhari.
So, but APC talked
talked
about change and
it's not about it's not about the campaign promises. It's about the reality on ground.
Okay, so which means the campaign promises were the total diversion of a political statement.
A complete shift from. Don't forget that even if you go to APC's manifesto, you see that they have restructuring as part of their manifesto.
Which means the Nigerian political
don't even forget. Okay.
Which means the political system we have makes people say something else. They get to office and do something.
They always want to woo the electorates. Oh. They always want to placate them. They always want to convince them, just for the purpose of getting power. Ordinarily, if it were to be election time, Buhari will not start asking police to harass, intimidate, and stop protests, because he knows he needed their support to win the election. If perhaps Buhari is eligible to contest again, this level of lawlessness we are seeing from the government would not have been as much as this.
Wow.
Because you know that he is not seeking election anymore. So he can do anything he wants to do.
Wow.
So looking at PDP's position, I think PDP is in a dilemma. Because the government of Muhammadu Buhari, what they use is they intimidate people, even at the level of governors. They intimidate them and coerce them and even force them to join APC. So I don't think the only way PDP would have been vocal or would have been able to become a pressure group and the government will listen to them is if there were free and fair election. So PDP would have engaged them on issue based on issues. Because the way it stands, even if you are trying to bring up issues, because our system has so much given the presidency so much power that he can decide what happens to even other arms of government.
So is that the best form of? Are we practicing a true democracy?
It's unfortunate we find ourselves in this situation because. Okay.
Most times when we talk, because from my class group, we have a page, political science department, Obafemi Awolowo University back then. And anytime we're discussing, we even find it hard to understand if we are really practicing federal system or democratic principles as being practiced in other sane climes. Sorry, I mean, I love using the word sane climes because I strongly have a belief that some climes are not sane. So are we really practicing democracy, or we're practicing autocratic governance in the name of democracy? Most times there seems to be a mix-up where one man becomes the alpha and omega. Where do we move from here? Because this system is really not bringing much to the table in comparing the dividends of democracy that is obtainable in other parts of the world. Some African nations are really getting it fine on some issues, and it don't seem to look as if we're getting anything correctly. If you look at our school system, if ASU is not on strike, ASUP for Polytechnic will be on strike. The colleges of education is nothing to write home about. Your security architect, oh Jesus, don't let us even go to security because we know it's a no, zero. So when you come to the road, the transportation, there's kidnapping. You can't go on road, you can't go on air. So when you come back to the technological world, recently I think on Daily Trust newspaper, kidnappers had to go to bank to collect the money that was paid for ransom.
That's serious.
He's online. In fact, maybe we're going to deliberate on that. He's on Daily Trust. It came out just before I came into the studio. We watched it and we are like, there's BVN. When somebody defrauds you, you go to bank.
These are the areas where we doubt the sincerity of the government to fight insecurity.
It's the only insecurity. What about corruption?
Because a situation where you have BVN, you have already compelled Nigerians to link their national ID card
to BVN, to SIM
and all that. And you see people commit crime with their registered SIM card,
and nothing is happening.
So I begin to wonder, all the registration, trying to synchronize all the database, of what effect has it been? Of what advantage have you been to the security agencies?
Let me just take some of the comments from our viewers. CD says, looking dapper. Great job, guys. Then Mr. Kyle said, Mr. Sam Matu, Kaduna State government should shut down schools until they have a new safety architecture so that families do not continue to hurt. The current method is not working. Oh, Jesus. So how long are we going to shut down schools? That's another argument.
Okay, if you look at it, I think the person have a point, because the schools, especially boarding schools, have become vulnerable to these bandits. So if you shut down boarding school, for instance, ensure that you create a system where perhaps people learn from home.
Sorry.
Don't know that it's almost uncommon.
They are senators or they are reps.
Don't know that it almost became a new normal after COVID-19. So I think the government could leverage on that, because however you look at it, the life of the students is sacrosanct.
Yes, true.
So you cannot, on the altar of boarding school, because look at all the cases of kidnap of large number of students It has always been federal government secondary school. So on that basis, I think the government is not even proactive. But they should have known that these are the areas of vulnerability.
I'm looking at the same people whose regional House of Rep member and legislature openly said that the region does not have what it takes to handle just electronic transmission of the results. Results will only take place maybe in a day. All the election in Nigeria, if you want to vote for executive...
No, that one is mainly political gimmick.
No, I'm coming. Even if it's political or not, the representative they have in almost all the regions of... No, we saw the voting pattern. Except from about a few. One from Sokoto, I think one other one from Benue, and one other person from, I think, Jos. About 4 of them from the north as a whole voted that the region does not have coverage. So how are you going to...
No, we know what transpired.
No, I'm driving at something. Okay. Yes, we know what transpired. I'm holding down to the statement of their representatives. So even if we know that they played a political statement by saying that, how are we now going to discuss how lessons can be taught from homes when some of those parents cannot even afford 3 square meals? How some of them don't even know what is the meaning of internet. No. Some don't have computers. Some don't even have browsable phone. Even in Southwest here, not everybody uses this phone in the proper way. So how are you going to convince them that they can go through the e-learning? During COVID, most part of Nigeria do not have lectures, except those in Lekki and Ikoyi. Have relations that they, in fact, their teacher herself does not even know how to use Android.
I agree with you.
So how much more the northern region? Where do we start from?
I agree with you, but if you look at a situation where a parent have to sell all his life savings just because to save or to secure the release of the children. You now marry with e-learning. I think it is better they explore the option of e-learning. Then when the security improves, you can now go back to the old normal. Don't forget that even the Kanu State governor was quoted to have said that he withdrew 2 of his children from school because of the insecurity. So he used a diplomatic statement that other children were vulnerable because of the presence of his children. That his children were prime target.
And what about schools that his children were not attending? Don't they kidnap?
So that is another.
Okay, let's take more comments from some of the viewers. I think aside that very cool, we have coming from Olofin Tech. They said, well done guys. Then CD said, Nigerian government has lost out on Igboho'S case. Probably why the president is on his way to London. Why MNK, okay, Nnamdi Kanu was en route to Nigeria. He cancelled his trip, yes. Because if you remember, the day Nnamdi Kanu was brought into the country, the president supposedly was supposed to be in London. Yes. So, I think he is trying to say it's not a coincidence that these things just happen, which I feel is true. Then away from that, must we politicize everything? Nigerian cause. I'm sorry. Oh Jesus. Okay, I think CD leaders. Okay. Then Humble African said, like you guys so much. Thank you very much, Humble African. Keep up the good work. I'm watching from Dallas, Texas. Olofinte says, democracy, I don't understand. Okay. Then we are tired. Bogus government. Decade system, decade government. That is from Ayo Ore. Mr. Matthew, let's move fast. A statement is credited to a cleric. He says, the cleric blames decadence on unholy alliance by clergymen, politicians. So this statement simply means that what we are having is a result of the decadence. The unholy, what term as the unholy alliance between some men of God and politicians. In looking at this statement critically, it is a known fact that they said they are men of God anyway, created a strong alliance, which the clergyman here called an unholy alliance, prior to the administration of this government. And so many of them came up publicly to give us hope and tell us so many good things that are good to the ear. How the government to we still have so many of such videos online, even on YouTube. How the government $1 will go for £1, refineries will work, insecurity will be 18 of so many good promises, and some of them we are at the forefront. Not just clergymen and politicians. We have so many activists, lawyers, cut across all spheres of life. And at that same point, we have some others who were on the opposite version, that saying that the worst is to come. In looking at this statement, are these people really men of God, or God spoke to them?
I think the man who has,
because the politician, to me, I feel did the work of a politician, which is based on hypocrisy and double standard, which is always a tool in a black world. Usually in other part of the world, but sometimes in some of these countries, you know how to manage some of these excesses. So I probably might not really take it away from the political class. That is their duty to use those tools. But on the aspect of the so-called clergymen, was it them? Or
I think the man who is speaking is committing an error.
Okay. From your opinion?
Yes.
Okay.
Because if himself is a man of God, we do not need 20 men of God to challenge the authority and force the authority to do the right thing according to the will of God.
Okay.
I will cite 2 instances from the Bible, because he is speaking from the perspective of a man of God. If you look at the time of David, God did not use the whole Israelite. There was one man called Goliath,
okay,
who threatened the sovereignty of Israel. It only took David, by the grace of God, to
okay.
And if you look at David, by our standard, he was small, he was not trained to fight war, and God used him to bring down Goliath. I'm coming.
I'm looking at time frame.
Okay. Then if you look at the time of Elijah, there was an instance where even the enemy were wondering, why is it that anything we want to do, the king of Israel know before we hash our plan? Somebody told you that there is somebody in Israel that even know what to do in your bedroom. He asked them to go and arrest him. At the time they were coming, the Elijah's servant saw the multitude coming, and he ran to the master to say, we are finished. Look at the situation we found ourselves. And the Elijah prayed to God to open the eye of the servant. Okay. And when God did, he saw how they were protected, that they were chariots of fire surrounding the hill where they were. And Elijah prayed that God should blind all of them. They all became blind. God used just one man to do that. Okay. So I'm challenging the same man of God you have just mentioned, that if he's truly a man of God, he should rise up. God do not need 1,000 people. In the case of when God wanted to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham was discussing with God, asking him, if you see 10, will you see destroy? God said no. He was asking, reducing, meaning that we needed just, if he's a man of God, I mean the person who is talking, himself alone can challenge anything that the government is doing that is against the standard of God, that is against the doctrine of God, that is against the injunction of God. And God will stand with him and he will succeed.
So you wouldn't have known. Maybe he wasn't part of this clergy. He might have held a different position as at that point in time.
What I'm saying in essence is, he can stay in his bedroom and issue a decree, and the government will be uncomfortable in Asurok. He doesn't need.
You're not too spiritual here.
No.
Okay.
That reminds me of
because
Paul and Silas. No, I will end it. I will drop the caution here. Okay. That reminds me of Paul and Silas. They were arrested, kept in the prison. The Bible said they prayed, they sang. And the people in high places, the kings, the president, or what we call them then, started looking for what was wrong. They left the comfort of the office to order that the man should be released. So he should take up the baton and survey the situation, rather than trying to vilify other people. Because for me, the Bible says, whether in truth and in pretense, the Christ is preached. So I don't think it is.
We're not debating that Christ is not preached. What
I'm saying is, I don't think it's heavy. I don't think it's ready for him to start vilifying. Because before you call somebody a man of God, it's a function of who is that person before God. It's not when somebody come up to say, I own a church, I'm a man of God. That is not what makes one a man of God. It is who do God see you, what do God regard you as.
Okay.
Error by thinking that somebody who perhaps he thinks is a man of God is not a man of God. It's not just enough to lead a congregation. That is not what makes you a man of God.
Okay, let me take some of his statements. A Yenogua-based clergyman, Apostle George Odoko, has blamed the nation's challenges and underdevelopment on the unhealthy alliance between the political class and pastors. Odoko, president and founder of Heroes Palace International, made the assertion on Sunday as he dedicated the Lion of Judah Fire Deliverance Ministry, Azikoro, in Bayelsa to God. The cleric took a swipe at pastors who abandoned their altar to be an errand boy for politicians and those in power. He said it was regrettable that instead of speaking the truth, many clergymen were busy occupied eating crumbs from the politicians' table. He attributed poor governance to the inability of many pastors to tell leaders the truth because they had compromised and were on their payroll. The cleric added that instead of the leaders listening to the priests were taking orders from politicians. He said the development was an aberration drop off on the society as the sacrifice of truth on the altar of materialism had become a norm. Dedication. Odoko said that dedication ceremony was a solemn event in Christendom, most especially as it concerns the Church of God. He noted that the dedication of the church would usher in mighty miracles. He went on to say, speaking at the event, Apostle Ernest Godgift, General Overseer of Lion of Judah Fire Deliverance Ministry, noted that the rededication of the ministry would awaited day that had come. So, but looking at this statement,
let me ask you one question.
He wasn't. No, I'm not a pastor, so I might not be able to.
No, the question I ask is not about. He
wasn't saying, just like you said. He is not. Maybe
okay, let me make an observation.
In doing this, is he not standing up to speak that the altar of God should be meant for the thing of God, for the things of God, not?
Let me make an assertion now.
Okay.
Since you say you are not ready to take Christian.
No, I'm not a man of God.
But let me just make an assertion.
I'm a political.
Let me just make an assertion and see whether you are on the same page with me on this assertion.
Well, okay.
Okay, now the man of God who is speaking. Before now, how many times have you seen him to have spoken truth to power? Because for me, this is the first time I'm seeing him.
Well, so many men of God might not have the platform to have spoken.
But how did he get to?
It was a special ceremony of a church dedication. They were opening a church, and I think they called in the press.
And the press they crashed into his church.
The opening of the branch, they invited him there from the what is online.
And before now, you didn't know that there's anything called press.
No, no, I'm coming. There are so many people that might have been saying some things even against the government that are not out because they
I can understand you are holding brief for him.
I'm not holding. I'm just telling you that there are so many churches, even organized. There are people on the street, even not for Flip TV and some other station. You might not know their stand. So the day you probably will now see them on the podium, you will now say, where have they been? So many.
But wait, let me make one point clear.
But no, in order to
I need to make one point. No, I want to make
also those that have the name.
Sorry,
like Bishop Oyedepo. Well, yes, he was.
No, I read it. He was given back to in Atlanta.
Now, the point is, we have so many Nigerians. Immediately get to those things, they are more recognized and they tend to explore and do more.
No, however you look at it, if you put Davido in the midst of his contemporaries globally, he will stand out. He's somebody who have created a name for himself.
Not even looking at his father's wealth.
Yes, he's somebody who, whether you like it or not, in Nigeria, for instance, is a hard host. So, to that extent, I think everybody will want to identify with him.
Okay.
So, even to people who invited him, I think to them they see it as an honor for him to honor it.
Okay.
In as much as himself sees it as an honor to be invited. So it tells you that Nigerians can excel. It's just that the system here do not give them the room to excel.
The environmental.
It was not the other day we were mentioning that the COVID-19 vaccine, that a Nigerian doctor who already graduated from Nigeria before he went to America led the process of discovery of the American vaccine, COVID-19 vaccine. So to that extent, Nigerians have the potential, have the ability to do exploits. It's just that the system here is not giving them the room.
So that's why they most want to leave the system.
Of course, at every given opportunity, you see everybody is willing to leave the system because the system is only interested in recycling all these old politicians, not minding whether there is development or not. Is it also even surprising that an agency of government that is saddled with responsibility of research were called by the National Assembly to come and render stewardship for an appraiser? They said they have succeeded over 30-something years of its existence, that they have succeeded in devising a means to produce a kilishi, or what do they call it? That means that kilishi. So the whole Senate was thrown into laughter. So I give kudos to people like Davido, who against all odds have stand out.
Irrespective of the factors within the Nigerian country, Nigeria will not hold some of us down. Well, in summary, there's a statement from a man of God, which is that would be the summarizing part of.
Is it Tunde Bakare?
He said, "Come after me if you can." Bakare dares to FG officials, "Come after me." I wouldn't know if I'll be able to read that part of his statement. That was the statement credited to
Tunde Bakare,
Pastor Tunde Bakare. So, in that statement, I know you've gone through it. What do you make of it? And this is somebody that gave so much to this current presidency, even the administration. Back then, even before 2014, they contested on the same platform. He was a vice presidential candidate for the president. And what went wrong all of a sudden? In looking at the statements he made, he said, he was quoted to have said that he was part of those who, even when the president lost hope in contesting again.
Well, he didn't make mention of president.
Okay, well, he said
the person he was referring to.
The person he was referring to, since we have so many people that contested.
Let's remind that realm of diplomacy.
Let me quote some of it. He said, serving. Okay, he said, serving overseer of Citadel Global Community Church, formerly called the Lateran Assembly, Lagos, Pastor Tunde Bakare, as dead and unidentified official of the federal government to come after him based on his recent public pronouncement. Speaking on Sunday during a sermon in his church, Bakare said, "I dare you to come after me, since that is the usual style. Since that is the usual style now. You might have done it to others. You are about to learn a lesson if you touch me." He added, "If you know what I have done in secret, bring it to the open. I dare you to come after me if you can. I work with you. I worked for you. I supported you to get there where you are. When I talk now, I now have a smelly mouth. I'm not interested in meeting you any longer." You said he never mentioned him, right?
But the statement is pointing somewhere. The accusing finger is pointing somewhere.
Now.
But we will not mention them. We just allow them.
He did not mention them. So let us play along. No more visits. Now, it is war. Because Nigeria must be set free. Now, the question is, as at that time he was helping this person, so he never knew that Nigeria would be set in bondage. So it's now Nigeria will be set free. I'm coming. Anyway, let's go on. He also berated the federal government for clamping down on leader of indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, and Yoruba nation agitator Sunday Adeyemo, aka Sunday Igboho. Rather than work towards justice, he accused the federal government of using intimidation and brutality. Bakare, who was the running mate of President Muhammadu Buhari on the platform of the Front Congress for Progressive Change in 2011, recalled he backed the unnamed top official of his current position. Addressing the official, Bakare added, "Have you forgotten that you vowed never to contest again?" I said, "Not so. I show you how you can win the next election, and you agreed to run and you won. I was not considering myself but concerned about how Nigeria can become great. Those were the statements credited to Pastor Nnamdi Buhari. Now, Pastor Matthew, I have to use pastor because this is a pastoral debate. No, sorry, it's a pastoral. We need a pastoral touch of special anointing to decipher this.
Okay.
Was God speaking on different form to our pastor then, or God is on reverse gear now, or the vision was not for an appointed time, or maybe the pastor decided to a different spirit came as at that point in time when the person he supported using the altar did not fall in line, or it was the person that derailed from the anointing that Pastor Nnamdi Buhari saw. Sorry, I'm not a pastor.
Should I speak?
Yes.
I think whether somebody is anointed by God or not,
Okay.
God still give you the leverage to take your decision. That notwithstanding, if you decide on a particular issue that you want God to speak before you act, if it pleases God to speak, He speak. But with or without God speaking, God has given us free will. So you have liberty.
Sorry, in assessing this statement. So which means Pastor Nnamdi Buhari might have been working on liberty of free will, not on the.
I'm driving somewhere.
Okay.
You have don't preempt me. so in a nutshell, God has given us free will.
Okay.
So we are at liberty to exercise that free will.
And
even in the circumstance where God have talked about prophesying, if what I want to say is spiritual now,
okay,
if you see by the Spirit of God, I can see you sitting as a governor by the Spirit of God. No, I'm just saying an assumption.
No, I've claimed
and I say, Mr. Samuel, in 2023, I see you as a governor of, I mentioned your state, Akwa Ibom. In that manner, I've only declared what God showed me. That is one.
Okay.
Secondly, I could see somebody's commitment in respect to achieving a particular goal. I will personally, out of my own passion, compassion, I speak into that person's life.
As a man of God.
As a man of God. It can come to reality if that person diligently work towards it. God will honor that word. Not because God has said I should speak it.
So it's different. It's two different things now. So one was from God, the other was as a result of your own passion.
Yes.
And God answered.
Yes. So, however I look at it, it is not even out of place to have even to even speak out of your own free will, because you have the feeling that this person will do it better. Not because God is giving you an instinct. And you
but is it not wise to consult from God if your personal instinct?
It's wise to consult from God, but at times, because of overbearing influence of human activity, at times human beings do not want to wait for God or resort or allow God speak. But I want to tell you that in all circumstances, as a child of God, if you see the face of God, He speaks. And it's dangerous to act when God is not speaking as a child of God. So for me, I do not want to vilify
Pastor Nnamdi
Buhari.
It's true.
But if you look at the person you're referring to, though he didn't mention name, but I think any designing heart will know where the accusing
designing heart to know who he was referring to.
Where the accusing finger is pointing to.
Okay, very so.
So for me,
we're going to get a scriptural discerning platform on the Pundits. Okay, I'm listening.
So he did say that battle is about to change hand, and he have not mentioned any name, and you cannot crucify him because you cannot even accuse him of wishing any person dead or not. Don't forget that he has equally said before now that he's going to rule this country. He has equally
was that the result of passion or it was God?
That I don't know.
Okay.
He has equally said. He has equally said that people who are talking about 2023, that they are forgetting that his own is not in the calculation of 2023, but that he will rule this country.
What year?
So the way it stands, the person you're referring to, he didn't mention the name. So if eventually he rules this country, maybe somebody would have left a particular position for him to occupy. Maybe by way of demise or not, I don't know. So we'll wait and see how it panned out.
Okay, Mr. Matthew, let's not go to spiritual because I'm a journalist now and by profession, so and study political science. So, but I don't want to go into those nitty-gritty. But it's okay, it's fine. But maybe because I think there should be more clarification to some of this subject of conversation by our men of God, irrespective of the religion, either traditional, the Christian, the Muslim, and some people need more because so many pundits or viewers or even social commentators or even the populace have felt some of these people used their positions or maybe their altar or their religious gathering to mislead and push followers, and people expect them to come out. I'm sorry because I've said this. Maybe because I was wrong. Maybe because you're human. So a situation whereby you allow it die, so many of them keep quiet, and I think apart from maybe Dele Momodu openly apologized, and I think Edino Milai from Records. Most others just sweep it under the carpet and feel everything is fine and everything is well. And these guys just expect everybody to just go. Most Nigerians who probably, you don't need to be a Muslim to respect some cleric even before 2015 election, but some of the Muslim cleric have lost. So is the Christian, so many in the Christendom. So people, many Christians within the Christendom don't take most of them.
How do you determine as a cleric?
Cleric. The journalists determine most of them. Immediately you're a man of God, they say you're a cleric.
So that's the dilemma of the society anyway.
When we live in a society where bandwagon effect moves.
Because
what I'm saying is so many people have lost touch with them and have lost respect, and the people don't even take them serious most times when they talk. That is it. So I expected, is a personal opinion. I'm sorry, I'm human. To err is human, forgiveness is divine. I might have been moved because of this factor A, B, and C factor. I haven't seen the reality. I come before you, my people, and I'm apologizing to say we made a grave mistake. We're going to look for a better Nigerian that will fix the system, that not from the former political. So it was as if it was made for big interest, or maybe they were paid. I can't take it away from the fact that many of them were paid, or probably some of them wanted appointment.
The problem is this: the clothes, the attire of tyranny. They were not careful to notice that he had it on, so they now put the Democrat clothes on top of the tyrannical clothes. So by the time they now look that, they were not looking at him again. He quickly removed the other one, and by the time they look, it was khaki. So I think that's the scenario.
Yes, your final statement, because our time is fast spent.
Okay, the final statement has always been rule of law. Let the government come back to follow the right trajectory of rule of law. Let the government allow the people have their say. The government should stop hounding, intimidating, arresting people. There should be fairness, equity, and justice in the society. Thank you very much.
Okay, let me take the last few comments that just popped in. I think Emeka Francis say, watching from Dortmund City. Thank you very much. Okay, Francis Emefo. Okay, then Mr. Dele Amedu. Tunde Bakari is an hypocrite. Why is it that Bakari only makes so much noise whenever another general election is around the corner? Politicians and pastors are Nigeria's biggest oppressors. But I think he has been talking occasionally, even before now.
Yes, of course.
Then away from that, Mrs. Mata Okodua, Okodua. Okay, good question. Okay, I think this question was referring to what I asked you in relation to Pastor Tony Bakari. Then I think Pastor Tony Bakari and other pastors should ensure the integrity of who they are supporting in future. Yes, true. Men without integrity and character should never occupy a government position. Yes, that's true. Thank you very much for your comment, and thank you for watching Flip TV. My final thought: wherever we are and whichever position we are holding and whatsoever we do, let's try as much as possible to allow the principle of fairness, equity, and equality to reign. Because you might not be in the position of governance tomorrow. your children, your loved ones, your state, or your region can also be at the receiving end of whatsoever policy you do now. So I endeavor whoever is in a position of authority, whoever is in the position of governance, state actors and non-state actors, let us be fair to everybody. Let us try as much as possible to decentralize the system and allow state policing to work. Let us try as much as possible to allow electoral remittance or transmission of results